G'day legends, Blake here with another video, and in my last video I briefly touched on my drains here that I've connected up into all of my tanks, and I had a few questions on those. So for this one I'm going to show you how to incorporate no drill drains for all of your aquariums, no matter how big they are. It's really simple, doesn't require many tools at all, and it saves having to cart around buckets or run hoses all over the place when it's water change time. So let's jump straight into the video. So I'm sure you've noticed them before, but if you haven't, all of these green valves connected to this black PVC tubing, these are my drains for doing water changes. So I wanted to set these up because, to be honest, I was a bit nervous drilling the tanks, and in any case, I didn't really have a great way that I could refill the tanks for auto water changes. So I knew that I was going to be manually filling them up anyway, just because of things like chloramine. I was worried about leaks, having a pressurized system always on, and all that sort of stuff would have just kept me up at night. Plus, I like the connection of actually doing manual water changes anyway. So this is what I came up with. And by came up with, I mean researched and decided to implement in my own fish room. Of course, I'm not the sort of inventor of this idea by any means. So this is what they look like. I don't mind them, but I'm sure they could be made less conspicuous if you spent the time and energy to do that. These ones here are 5-gallon or 20-litre aquariums. This is 13mm PVC pipe. But on my larger aquariums, I have 19mm PVC pipe like these two 4-footers here. And that's really just to speed up the process and allow more water to flow through the system. So you might decide that 19mm is the go for your entire fish room, just to get those fast water changes happening. But I was just worried that it might be a little bit overbearing to have a bigger pipe here in between all of these smaller tanks, and I didn't want it to obstruct the view too much. So for this, luckily you don't need any crazy expensive power tools or anything like that. Really the only tool you're going to need are a pair of cutters here. So these ones are more spring-loaded ones, but the ratcheting ones as well work perfectly fine. If you've ever cut PVC before, it's for that purpose, but these are just handy for cutting the poly pipe. You can even do it with scissors if you really want to, but you might just create a bit of a RSI issue for yourself. So a pair of poly pipe cutters are going to be great for this. Other than that, it's really just elbow grease. The other components are going to be a stainless steel strainer here. If you're in Australia like I am, I ordered them online from Dural Irrigation. They're about $1 Australian each for these ones that are the smaller ones, and maybe it was $1.50 each for the larger ones. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a one and done purchase. So yeah, it might be a little bit of upfront capital if you've got 50, 60 tanks. But I ordered those online. I'll drop a link down below. If you're in America, I'm not sure where you could get them, probably a hardware store of your choice, but best to go into an irrigation store and ask them. Couple of elbows, 90-degree elbow each side of the tank, and a valve here, and then a T that is going to fit your connections down here. So this one is entirely 13mm poly pipe. However, over this side, I've got some 19mm into 13mm. That is because on this side, I have it connected to my 8-foot aquarium. So obviously, if I was trying to drain this 8-foot tank here using 13mm tubing, it would take an entire day to drain down. It's pretty lengthy as it is with the 19mm. So that's why I have 19mm around, and yeah, these ones, again, I didn't want anything too intrusive obstructing the view more than what it already is. If you can't find these, or you have a friend, or you have a 3D printer yourself, they can certainly be 3D printed, and I definitely 3D printed the first couple, but just for convenience, I decided to just buy a bunch of them just to save myself having to print it all, really. And then it's just a process really of calculating how many elbows, how many valves, how many T's, and how many strainers you're going to need. For example, if you've got 10 aquariums, most likely you'll need 20 90-degree elbows, 10 T sections, 10 strainers, and 10 valves. That's if it's in the most simple way you can do it. However, if you're going to go up or down racks, make sure to incorporate a 90-degree elbow there and a T section there, so that it can then drain down and out. I messed it up about 5 times and had to keep going back to the hardware store. And the other thing, of course, you're going to need a big old roll of the poly pipe. So just buy it in the 50-meter big roll that you can get. It might need to be sort of rolled out in the backyard and left in the sun to sort of straighten out a little bit. But to be honest, these have all straightened out a lot more over time. So of course, there's still a few bends and waves in it, but it just gets more and more straight, you know, as they warm up, cool down, warm up, cool down. So don't stress about that too much, unless you're a perfectionist, of course. And it's just simply then a matter of cutting the sections up and pushing them all together. Key takeaway is to have the inlet of the strainer above where you're going to place the valve. So put the valve as low down as you possibly can. This is about it because the barbs that are on all of these sections go to about the midpoint. So this is about as low as possible that I can keep this valve. And so long as that's higher, after the first time you drain it down, this is all going to remain full of water. Unless of course you let it drain down past that and then air gets into the system. Then you just need to go to the end of the drain and maybe suck on that while this is open to just get that siphon started again. If you've ever drained an aquarium before, you know about siphons and how they work, and that's all this is. It's basically just a fixed version of your gravel vac or whatever that you want to use. But there is one major benefit. Let's just say that I open up this valve, drain this tank down, forget about it, go and get distracted, come back and there's air all in this system. The good thing with this is you can go and open up the valve next to it if that is still under siphon, wait for some water to go through there, then open up the one that's lost siphon, and the fact that water is passing through this system will bring water through this one, especially since it's closer to the drain, and that will get the siphon started again. It's really, really handy, and so long as you're not losing siphon on the last one in the chain, you'll find it super easy to get siphons restarted again. Another consideration you may give is if you're wanting to regularly do water changes all the way down to the bottom, let's say, it might be an idea to put the pipe here so that the strainer goes all the way down past the midway point like I have here, and then just twist and angle it upwards so that when you're doing a normal water change, you can set the level that you want it to. So let's just say worst case scenario, you're doing a full clean out, you want it to go to there. Then if you only wanted to do a half, you just twist it so that you drain it to that point there. And I wish I built that flexibility into this system, but I'm way too far into it now. So if you're setting it up fresh, that might be something that you want to think about, but the strainer will still have to be above the valve here if you want to do that. Then once it's all push fit and assembled, you have a couple of options. If you're really diligent and maybe paranoid about leaks, you can install a bunch of these locking clamps here. I have done it on some of them, but to be honest, I haven't concentrated that much. So this is what they look like. A simple kind of zipper arrangement. If you push it together, it gets tightened. Let's see if I can do it. Just like that. And that will keep your fittings nice and tight. Let me show you. Like you can see here, so I've just done one on each connection there. The other one as well is you can put these sort of horseshoe type nails to keep everything in place. But if your measurements are all good, you can just kind of sit them there and it will not have anywhere to go because it's kind of hooked into the tanks anyway. So it's probably not the most necessary thing to do that either. However, it just does allow you to incrementally build it out, like to have somewhere that's going to sit it in place if you're just going to build one or two at a time. And then it's just a matter of finding somewhere for them to drain. So conveniently, this middle row here of the rack was at sink level. So anything here and above, including the 8-foot, they go into a drain around here, which just jets kind of dodgily straight there into the sink. I could run it out to the back if I really wanted to, but it just goes straight in there. So if I come along here, turn on this valve, then it's all under siphon, and hey presto, we have it draining. But obviously that's not going to be the case for everyone and every tank, even in my fish room. So for these tanks over here, they drain, there's a pipe along there and there's a pipe along there. It goes down around a little corner here, connects into all of these as we go, and around the corner. And then I just have it connected into a hose here. So when I want to water change any of these tanks here, I open this door a little crack, unfill the hose straight there onto the grass, and then the water change water gets to water my grass then. Similarly, these tanks here connect along a line down to here, and they do the exact same thing. So, you know, if you're just in a normal house or fish room, then just connect it up to a hose and poke that out the window. As long as this is all gravity fed, so as long as it's below the level of the tank that you're going to drain, you'll be absolutely fine draining it out in the exact same fashion. So there you go, guys. That's a bit of a rundown into how I put drains in all of my fish room with no drilling required whatsoever, and it just allows me to drain water at the turn of a valve really easy, and I never have to think about holding onto a hose or doing anything. It really frees my hands up when it's water change time. So if you are thinking about water changes and how annoying they can be, in particular the draining, then I'd recommend you install this system, because I've even found sometimes, like if you've got a little bit of time, I go along and start the draining process, and then I'll come back like after dinner or whatever and do the filling then. And it does allow you to just walk away from the tanks for a period of time whilst draining, so long as you're not worried about your sink clogging up at the time. But if this has been helpful, be sure to let me know down in the comments below. Always love positive feedback where I can get it. Other than that, if you like my videos, there's another one right there for you to watch. But if it has helped you, it always helps me out to smash like, hit subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And happy fish keeping. Catch you later.